so today's community conversation was just not about how you transition, into phase 2 for COVID-19, but understanding that whether it's good or bad, whether you say yes or no, whether you go or you stay still, it causes a ripple effect in your life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Saturday and it is Coffee and Community Conversation. Somebody say good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm so excited to have you guys here this morning. It's going to be good, right? It's going to be good. I am your girl, PKO. If we are cool, you call me KO. If we're not, then you add that P. Today, guys, I'm so happy to see some of our regulars today. I have my Big B cup, and in my Big B cup is my Big B coffee. There's no location near us, but these friends were gracious to send me some swag. So let's shout out Big B Coffee. And if you are ever in an area where there's a Big B, you need to pick up a cup of dark roast. They have some coffee for kids as well. Listen, it is good, lattes and all. But today I have my Big B cup. I have dark roast in my cup, and we're here for Mind Matters all over again. Who's ready for today? Who's ready for today? Thank you. Thank you. Look, I want you to share. Today we're talking about Mind Matters. We're talking about those things that we have to address in our life, those stigmas that will shift us or sift us, right? Those things that we've kept secret. Today we're talking. We have a guest expert. Y'all was here last week with Davinna. She is back again, and she's going to be helping us unpack mental health in the pews, mental health in the Black community, mental health in your life. I'm going to unmuzzle some of y'all, and we're going to talk about those moments that we keep silent and secret, and when we should open up our mouth and let loose a war cry. If you are ready, I want you to say I'm ready, and I want you to share this for me. I want you to share this, and I want you to say I'm ready. Exciting. Who's here? Deanna says she's ready. I'm going to throw you on the screen, Deanna, because you said you're ready, and we're praying for you. I know you was just recently in the hospital. Evangeline says, good morning, Peggy and Pierre. I am ready. That's good. So look, we are here, and we are talking about Mind Matters, right? Mental health in our communities, mental health in the pews, right? Mental health, right? That sometimes keep us silent, where we don't talk about it a whole lot. Today is Mind Matters. And so if you could do me a favor, because I believe that this topic is so important, right? I believe that this is a topic that we shunned. I told you that we've had a stigma, but we stepped on the stigma last week and unfolded it for Mental Health Awareness Day. And as you can see, I'm in my lime green. And when Davinna comes on, I'm sure she's rocking some lime green in typical New York fashion. I want you to share this for me. I want you to share this and say, hey, come join this important conversation. This is an important conversation, not because I'm giving it, but because we have a myriad of issues that we're facing in our community. And if we don't begin to unpack the bags that it's been packed in, if we don't begin to open up our mouth and dive deep so that we can find solutions, then we'll stay where we are. And I believe it's our responsibility as women, Black women, white women, men, whatever color you are, to address some of the issues that our individual communities face and our communities at large face. Right? Ready. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. So look, let's talk about mental health in the community. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about mental health in our community. What does it look like? Why does it matter? Right? And so this is what I think is important. Today, first, we're going to recap and continue the Mind Matters conversation with the Davinna Thrower, but we're focusing on shifting stigmas. And when you shift something, guys, it means that you move something. And so we're going to continue our conversation by discussing things that I believe are prevalent to right now. But before I even get started, for those of you that are watching, and there's only a few of us 10, I want to take a moment of silence right now. I need to take a moment of silence because in my community where I live in, there was a young lady who was killed in a crossfire of a shooting. And I want to take just a moment of silence just to mourn her, to acknowledge this impactful loss in our community. Thank you so much for doing that with me. It was important. So listen, talking openly about experiences with mental illness and seeking treatment has been a taboo in the Black community for too long. But today we're going from stigma to supportive tools. We're going from taboo to practical tools. For too long, we've been quiet, right? We have our people who won't seek help when they truly need it because they feel isolated out of fear of sharing what they are experiencing. And so I want to share with you a story of a young lady who was diagnosed with depression at 10 years old. Today, I'm also going to do something different, and I'm going to show a small clip of a video that shows that stigma. I read a story about a young lady, right? This young lady was 6 years old, and she was going through a struggle, and she didn't know why she was feeling the way she felt. She had some issues at home. Dad wasn't around, even though mom was there, but mom worked. You know, if you are a single mom, then you understand what that looks like. You work a lot, and sometimes you don't have the time that you need in order to engage the kids fully. You do what you can, but it doesn't look like other families sometimes. And so she began to spiral, wondering where her dad was, why he wasn't there. And where she found herself was isolated. And she was isolated because she was surrounded by other kids whose dads were present. Listen to what I'm saying. It wasn't because the situation was wrong. It was because her dad wasn't present, and she was comparing her present situation to what other people were facing. And so in knowing that, she began to spiral and became depressed. And the story I read is that she was actually diagnosed with depression at 10 years old. Listen, I said 10 years old. At 10 years old, she didn't want to tell anybody. She was ashamed that she had to go speak to somebody because she could not convey her feelings. I want you to know that this young lady also wanted to commit suicide. What would have happened if this child wasn't strong enough to go tell somebody that they were hurting? And this is just one of many stories of children who are facing situations because of the stigma that we have in our community, because of the situations that we have stereotyped in our community, where it's not okay to seek help. It's not okay for you to go ask somebody a question. It's not okay for you to participate and have conversations with people when you're going through, because you have the church. And listen, I have the church too, but there's some practical things and some positions that I believe that we need to connect in our lives so that we can do better, we can do more, and we can come out from under this stigma and this situation that we faced for a long time. If you're still here, say I'm here. Say I'm here. And so, guys, look, first, what is a stigma? A stigma is multi-defined. It's a deceitful discredit. And I want somebody to write that. It's a deceitful discredit. It will make you believe, make believe. Listen, if I ended coffee and community conversations right now, that's all you needed. It's a deceitful discredit. It will make you believe, make believe. It'll have you creating scenarios in your mind that are not true. You ever woke up in the morning and then you thought about what your day was going to be because you had a lot on your mind the day before, so you replayed what it looked like, and even though it didn't happen, the anxiety set in of what you thought immediately when you woke up. And so what I'm saying to you is that a stigma is deceitful, right? It is deceitful. It is a deceitful discredit. It will make you believe, make believe. It'll make me believe that I can't go to Cynthia or Deanna or Kim to have a conversation if I am in need because of how they view me. I'm so afraid of looking human human that I can't go to someone when I need help. Listen, that's a statement. We're so afraid of looking human that we won't go to anyone and ask for help when we really need it, right? And so how does that look? The Surgeon General said in 1999 that stigma was powerful and pervasive. The Secretary of Health and Human Services said that fear and stigma persist. It results in lost opportunities for individuals to seek treatment, to improve or recover. So when there's a stigma, right, it prevents you from getting the things that you need individually, whether it's to improve or recover from a situation. We're talking about stigmas because today's topic is shifting stigmas. Stigmas is known to lower your self-esteem. How many of you have felt bad because you needed help in an area and you looked at somebody else and they looked like they had it all together, so you felt like you wasn't good enough? Anybody here? Anybody here? And we're having real conversations. Say, is there anybody here who has faced a situation or a circumstance, and because of what somebody else's situation looked like, you were afraid to actually open up your mouth and get the help that you needed, right? And so look, I'm walking you down real quick, and we're about to bring Davinna on. Stigma is not only known to lower your self-esteem, but look, number one, stigma can stifle your scope. It'll change what you see. Number two, stigma can restrict recommended and reachable resources. I may be available to you, but you won't come to me and ask for help because of stigma. Listen, this is good already. Somebody needs to write that down. I said stigma can restrict recommended and reachable resources. That means that it was in your reach. Somebody told you that you can go get it, but because of stigma, which is powerful and pervasive, you don't go get it. Number three, stigma will have you bound by things that were birthed to build you. What does that mean? When Davinna comes on, she's going to talk about some of the tools that have been put in place. And so stigma will have you stuck by things that were birthed to build you, birthed to help you improve and recover. And despite growing awareness that mental health is a medical disease that drives behavior, stigma has not decreased. How many of you have some friends in your life that had to go through some mental health help? How many of you know someone who was a victim of suicide? They killed themselves because they didn't, go get some of the help that they needed. Listen, I know some people, I know some kids that are 7, 8, 9 years old that took their own lives because of where they were, because they did not want to ask for help, or because they didn't believe that resources were reachable, because they were afraid to open up their mouth and ask for help. This is Mind Matters. We're talking about shifting stigma. We're talking about taking people from disbelief to dismantling the thoughts so that they can get the assistance that they need to improve and recover, because we all have issues that we face that we need to talk to somebody about. Thank you, Lashikia, for being honest. And so today we are going to dive in detail with our expert, Davinna Thrower. We're going to talk about, number one, mental health in the pews, right? And mental health in the minority communities and in your community. We're going to talk about muffled mouths or moments that matter. How many of us have been silent when we should have been out loud, right? And we're going to also talk about missing pieces. What are some of the things that are missing in our communities and in our life that hinder people from seeking help? And then finally, we're going to wrap up with a quick exercise. We're going to throw in some resources for you. But after this, if you have a stigma that you've been holding on to and you need to talk to somebody about something, we're going to help you shift. Are y'all ready for this? I hope you are. So look, I want you guys to do what you did last week. We only have about 10 people watching, but I'm confident that more people will come on. If you are watching the replay, I'm PKO. We're bringing on Davinna Thrower. She is a master criminologist, a licensed social worker, caseworker. She specializes in this. She understands juvenile justice and criminal deviancy. She understands the mind. She understands what happens when people are thinking. She understands what happens in people's behaviors. She understands what's happening in you. And today I'm so excited because she's going to talk to us about cognitive behaviors. She's going to give us some cognitive techniques that's going to help us identify and change the elements of our belief system, right? And so this is about beliefs. What you believe you need, what you believe you can tap into, what you believe you can reach, and what you believe about yourself. I'm so excited about this. And thank you for joining us again, Davinna. Welcome.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, like Kalila said, my name is Davinna. I'm a licensed master social worker in the state of New York. And I'm here and I'm ready to talk to you guys today.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm also repping, Brooklyn with the Biggie shirt.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, wait. I'm gonna let them see.
Oh, there you go.
Awesome. So look, guys, today, Davinna is back. If you was here last week, just to give you a recap, she talked about some of the stigmas. She talked about some of the tools and techniques. She also gave us some information on ACEs, right? And so she's going to, she talked to us about childhood behaviors and experiences that affect us and things that we experienced back then when we were young that we have not overcome. And some of us, are at a place where it may be more difficult than others to overcome because of our age or because of our experiences. And so she kind of gave us some jewels last week, and I'm so excited to have her here again. Guys, this is Mind Matters. And I want to say this before I let Davinna loose, because I am letting her loose, right? Because her assignment. I want to tell you guys that y'all know me, PKO. There's been some times in my life where I needed someone to talk to and there was nobody around, and you feel overwhelmed. You feel insecure because you want to share with somebody that you need help, that you're hurt. Something is going on the inside. And it was in those moments that I would, have a conversation with God, and that was great. But listen, there's some conversations I want to have with people too. Come on, somebody. And so today I want you guys to understand what we are talking about, what we are going to share with you, and what is possible for you in your life, right? And so, Davinna, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it. I know we kind of have a routine of what we're going to speak about, but I want you to just, I guess, start by telling us, first, I guess I'll say, I'm going to throw in a video, actually. Let me throw in this video because it's going to talk about the church. And so, guys, bear with me. I'm going to share a video I think is important for you guys to watch right now. And
because after we watch it, I'm gonna have to break it down and have people understand why we see stuff the way that we do as a community.
Yeah, and that's important. And so that's what this video is for. It's about why we see things the way we do in our community. Why we see things the way we do in our life, why we see things the way we do in the workplace, because all these things matter. And so the video, I'm not going to show you the whole thing. We will post a link. It's just about it's about a minute and a half. And so bear with us. Hi, Miss Riley. I told you she has an assistant.
Hi, Auntie.
Hi, Auntie.
Hi, baby.
In the church that God will help handle this.
When I spoke about it to my grandmother, her response was, "Now, why you didn't just pray on it?" So it's like, my problems, I need more than prayer right now to really talk about it.
I think that's a big. And you are supposed to go to this place once a week and let go of all of your stuff there, even though you're not having a one-on-one with anybody in particular. But a preacher standing up there and it's like, this is what we're going to talk about today. And if you've got these feelings or these problems, then scream and shout and let it go. And we'll sing songs and we'll dance. And then, hey, everybody's okay. And you're absolved. And then you go home and you feel like crap.
This is new. And there's just no example to say I did it and it worked for me. We just say, well, crazy Uncle So-and-so, he just deals with it the way he deals with it. Oh, well.
It's kind of being seen now that, yeah, we can snap too. It's not just white people, It's like we all can snap. We all kind of need somebody to talk to, We don't just handle everything.
We just probably have nervous breakdowns all the time, whatever, and just actually struggle through it. That's what Black people do. Keep it moving.
In the middle, I know I'm just it wrong. I keep trying.
So guys, look, that short clip, right, was from was from a short video on how we don't go to therapy, how minorities do not go to therapy, and how we lean on so many different tools in our life, but we miss the moment, right, to go to therapy. And so before Davinna jump on, I want you guys to share any stereotypes that you've heard associated with mental health in the minority community, in your community, and in the church, right? Growing up, I was always told to read my Bible or pray to get over feelings that I know were depression. And so have you experienced that in your life? And Davinna's going to come on and talk about those stigmas. She's going to talk about what that looks like in the church, in the community. And she's going to talk to you about how to address those things. But I'd love to hear if you guys have any stereotypes that you've heard coming up. And so while we're waiting, I'm going to let Davinna go ahead and dive in.
Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone. For you to understand why we have a stigma against mental health in our community, you have to look at our roots. You have to understand that the root of our mental health stigma stems from, it could go all the way back to slavery. It stems from that notion that it was thought that slaves weren't sophisticated enough, that we couldn't develop depression or anxiety or other mental health issues because we weren't smart enough to do so. And that's just a part of our history, right? So even from those historic misconceptions, we learned to ignore like mental health in our community. We wasn't depressed, we were stressed, or we was tired, or we couldn't be depressed. We always made an excuse for what we were feeling and why we were feeling it. And the descriptions for depression and other mental illnesses that Black people adopted and passed on from generation to generation is what led to us underestimating how important the mental health is for us in our country, as well as for us and our people. It strengthened the beliefs that psychiatric disorders were a personal weakness, when in fact it has nothing to do with personal weakness. If you were here last week, you heard me talk about how it could be biological, but it could be environmentally based, and you can develop these disorders because of the trauma that you endure on a daily basis. But we've been made to feel like something's wrong with us if we have a mental disorder or we have a mental illness. And the truth is that African Americans develop, mental health conditions at a rate equal to anyone else. It's not like, it's not like we're not supposed to have those, but we've been taught generation in and generation out that it's a problem if you do. And people of color also, like, they experience direct traumatic stressors, and that's what people don't understand. It's the heavily policing, it's being victims of physical and verbal violence, it's indirect stressors that, like the killing of George Floyd or the killing of all the African Americans that we've seen in the past couple of years. These are traumatic for us, and it's sad because we're becoming conditioned to ignore traumatic events. It's like we just expect it now, and that's another part that contributes to our mental health and the issues that in turn derive from trauma that we suffer. And we're less likely to seek help. Statistics show, like, in and out, like, even though 25% of like African Americans will seek mental health, that's compared to 40% of white people or people of non-color. And when you look at those numbers, you begin to understand even more how big the stigma is in our community. And it's such a huge disparity. And a part of the reason that we don't go is because we don't trust systems. We don't trust healthcare. Tuskegee experiment. We were told that we were getting medication for syphilis when in fact they were injecting us with it and seeing how we would die from it and how fast we would die from it. So it's not believing in a system, and that's the bad part about it, because if we don't believe in the system, then we're not going to invest in that system. And a large part of mental health and mental health providers are not people of color. And we just want people that have that cultural responsiveness of our experiences and what we went through. And that trust has grown over the years because of the disparities and how we get health and our own health matters and those of people who aren't of color. So that has really led to the stigma around African Americans not really wanting to seek the help They don't want to seek the help because of the way that we looked at within their own community, but also the way they're treated when they're in hospitals or clinics or by doctors or nurses or they're in the ERs. We're misdiagnosed all the time. There's so many people who are have the same symptoms of people who are not of color, and we're labeled as being schizophrenic, while those other people are given a diagnosis of depression. And it's that kind of imbalance that is going to continue to cause that disparity.
Wow, did y'all hear that? I was over here taking notes. Even though I saw some of the notes, I was taking notes. She talked about some of what we experience is based on what we have faced. And so I want to throw up a comment really quick. Alfred, thank you for joining. We have a comment that says, I was having a conversation with a family member who said therapist was for crazy people and white people. I told them I had a therapist, and the conversation changed to wanting to know more about a therapist. That's what. Thank you so much. That's powerful. And so what Davinna said, and I want to hone in on that, is that a lot of what we face as individuals, especially in the African-American community. And so if you are up here and you're one of my white homies, I don't want you to feel left out. This is for you too. We're just highlighting some of the deep-rooted issues that happens in the minority community. And it's real, it's factual. When we suffer through trauma, we become numb to what we see. We become numb to violence, numb to being in an area that's lacks resources and has disparities. We become numb to this lifestyle. Our mind is confined to our block radius, and we don't know anything different unless somebody pulls us out and provides us with the information that we need to grow and to go. And so I want to highlight that, because we have violence in my community where I live now. Now, y'all know I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I was a part of the problem before, right? But now I think Davinna and I both, right, are working to be a part of the solution, right, as sisters. And one of the things that I want to share is that, and I'm going to post this, but silence is still a whole speech. Right? And so even if you don't say nothing, you're still saying something. And it is challenging for you to classify and label it a Black life only matter if it involves a police officer and it doesn't involve anybody within our community. And so I said that they held up picket signs, they stormed the courthouse, but they don't do that when there's crime that's happening within the community that doesn't involve a police officer, because we become numb. Even people that advocate, don't advocate in those areas. And so I want you guys to understand, and Davinna said something about slavery and its roots. She talked about how it goes back to them not believing that we were smart enough to even feel things. My goodness.
And
they believe, go ahead.
I was going to say that, we also have to, besides looking at the historical dehumanization of the whole culture in itself, we have to think about the oppression that we face. We have to think about the violence against Black people and African Americans and how it's evolved into racism, how it's become structural, institutional, as well as individual. And that cultivates like a uniquely mistrustful and less affluent community experience for the African American community, but it's characterized by so many disparities that it leads to that inadequate access and delivery of care from our health system. We have to realize that it's not only that past trauma, it's us having to process and deal with the other layers of individualized trauma that we face and the things that we go through in our individual personal level, and the mass trauma is like COVID and what's going on right now. And with the uncertainty and like isolation and grief from financial or like human losses, like that compounded with the police brutality and the news media and how it's fetishizing like all the things that are going on within the Black community and the political rhetoric, that is all compounding layers of complexity that individuals are supposed to manage responsibly on their own. And that's just crazy. You can't, you can, but that's just crazy to even try to manage those type of things on your own, and why you wouldn't seek help because of the way people will look at you. But I can guarantee you, I read an article about a young African American woman who went to college and medical school, and her family said, what are you going to study? And she said psychiatry, and it was like, why wouldn't you become a real doctor? And that's part of the problem. And she realized that the same people who were tearing her down about going to therapists or a psychologist or a psychiatrist were the same people that she was trying to help within that community. So it's all about outlook and the way you look at stuff.
Wow. That's powerful. Thank you so much, Davinna, for sharing that. So we look at the church, right? And we feel like because we have, you know, our pastor, and y'all know I have a pastor, we have pastors, we have evangelists, that we can't go and we can't speak to a therapist. I want to tell you that there's a compound anointing. You need all three. Right? You need all of them. And I want to release you today. You need all three. You need your pastor, you need your sister friend, and you need your therapist too. You need all three. Each one of them play a part in your life. The pastor is going to push you and pray for you, right? But the therapist is going to give you practical tools that you may need in order to function. And so look, I want to tell y'all this. So, and this was important for me because, you know, I have a lot of people that, you know, come to me that are part of the church, and, you know, and they often say, well, what does the Bible say to me? And look, the Bible talks about mental health, you know, and in the Bible we read in Psalms 25:16, David said, turn to me and be gracious, for I am lonely and afflicted. Loneliness is a sign. It is something that you need to seek help for. Then he goes and say, why are you cast down, oh my soul? When your soul is cast down, you are depressed, you are down, you're going through turmoil. And so I want you to know, for my soul is full of troubles. The Bible talks about some of the things that we face in our life, right? It talks about mental and emotional anguish. And so because the Bible talks about it, it doesn't mean, if you look at the Bible, you realize that there's some things that's reserved in prayer, but there's also some practical things that was assigned. A woman had to go get a jar from her neighbors to fill up with oil. It could have manifested at the snap of a finger, and she could have just prayed it, but she had to go do something. And so even most Psalms or laments, they end positively, but you have to remind yourself that God hears our prayer, but God instituted and put things in place for us to get the assistance that we need. Do you hear me today? Do you hear me today? Right? And so the Bible does speak about mental health, because I got that question, you know, and you have to keep those truths somewhere and remind yourself of them often. You know, it speaks about the truth. God sees you and is with you, but there are some things you have to do. I can say, you know, I have a young lady that I know that is going through a really difficult time. We prayed for her, we fasted, we threw all the oil on her, but she needs to sit down. Why? Because she needs a process. She needs a sustainability process in her life so that she can continue on her path. She received the prayer, she received the power, and sometimes you don't walk in the healing right away. So there's some things that you have to put in place to help you in that process. I call it a sustainability process. We all need one. We all need something that's going to help us sustain from point A to point B, right? That's going to take us from stigma to standing, right? And so listen, guys, why do we muffle our mouths on moments that matter? You know, why do we do it? Because silence can keep you stuck. We suffer in silence because of shame, lack of trust, and because of socioeconomic status, which is a barrier in mental health. And so what are we silent about, and why are we silent? Am I silent about how I feel because I don't want you to know? Do I not matter more to myself to seek the help that I need so that I can get better? I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, am I silent because I don't want you to know, but do I care about myself enough to open up my mouth and unmuzzle? Right? Because we're silent when it comes to violence in our community. We're silent when it comes to the disparities. We're silent when it comes to things happening in our children's lives. You know, Davinna shared last week, and the Black family, there's some secrets that you don't share outside the four walls. And so we've taken on that mentality in our communities, and we've become silent about some of the situations that we have faced. And one of those is being Black in the church, right? Come on, somebody, or being in the Black community, you know? And what are the missing pieces? To be to help us. Why aren't more minorities and members getting the help that they need? We understand stigma, but what else is there? I know she's going to lay some stuff on us, but I want to share one. There's a lack of knowledge. If you don't know, you can't go and grow, right? Public education can reinforce your experience. If I'm able to tell you about my experience with the therapist, like Lashikia said, and I hope I pronounced your name right, how she shared with her loved one, more people would be more inclined and more open to receiving the assistance or the conversation that they need, you know, to get the help that's been placed in front of them. Because remember, like, Stigma can stop you, but there's resources that are in your reach. You have to be willing to go out and grab them, right? And Davinna, I want to say also lack of resources, and she might share on this as well. She's going to add some stats here, but there's the disparities in neighborhoods. We see violence and vices. We see assaults and accusations. We see limited resources and routes out. You can't give me the resource I need in my hood. You can't show me a route out, but you also have stigmatized the situation, so I can't go out and get it either. I want you to think about that.
Yes, absolutely.
Think about that. Violence and vices, assaults and accusations, resources, and no route out. But then there's a stigma on me, so I can't come out and get the resource I need because it's not where I am. So what do you do? What do you do? Alfred said, he quoted me, Alfred, thank you for jumping. We've consistently been deprived of the essentials needed to continue to evolve. We are still adapting to living in this current country. You got that right, brother. You got that right. And so,
and that's a huge part of it. It's that, you know, the systematic barriers is what keep us from seeking help, and it impacts our mental health in the Black community. And like, it's like we're part of such high risk populations. Like, we only account for 12% of the United States population, but we're 40% of the homeless population. We're 45% of the children in the foster care system. We're 50% of the prison population, you know, and the majority of the people who are involved in the prison population that have some form of psychosis and should be in mental health institutions are not. And that's a huge part of the problem, is because we make up such huge amounts of the disadvantaged and disenfranchised communities. And when we come out and to seek help, we're looked at and we're treated by those same systems as if we're wrong for seeking that help, which makes you not want to seek that help. And it's just this constant cycle. And people don't understand that your traumatic experiences, like I was talking about last week, can have profound biological changes in your body. And even as a child, like I said last week, it changes your brain architecture. And it's really hard to get that back and grow from that when you haven't fully developed from the trauma that you endured as a child. And, you know, it's difficult acknowledging like psychological difficulties in the Black community, because you use religion to cope, and that's all you've been told of what to do when it comes to that. You know, you have pastoral guidance, you have the prayer, but it's about destigmatizing mental health, and that's how you help the community. Like, that's how you foster the community and get them out of the rut that they're in, by leading them and showing them that mental health conditions is not a permanent. It's not a personal. Excuse me. It's not a person. I stutter when I get excited, y'all. I'm sorry. It's not a personal weakness. It's due to the negative stereotypes from within our community. You too. It's due. Yeah, we the same sometimes, huh? It's due from the negative information. It's the lack of information that involves mental health issues in the Black community, and it's not clear cut, and it creates this lack of responsiveness or cultural awareness as to why we need mental health, and why we need even more people of color in the mental health workforce, because that's a part of it.
That's strong and that's powerful. I hope y'all caught all of that, or what she's saying. We use things. Yeah, we use certain things. We use certain things that we think are tools and essentials to help us cope. And that's because we have to learn how to redefine them. How many of us have things in our life that we've defined in a certain, so we've classified it. And y'all know how I feel about classifying friends, right? You know, you got to stop treating them jokers that are just comrades as confidants, right? You're giving them too much information. We do the same things with things in our life. She said that we use religion to cope, when in fact, that's not, it's a part of it, but it's not it. There are some other things. And look, y'all know that I love God. You know, I'm Pastor KO, but there's a balance, I believe, that we have to have. I believe that if there's an influx of medical professionals in your church, if there's an influx of mental health professionals in your church, God may be calling you to build that type of ministry in your church. You have to utilize your resources. Not everybody is called to be in the pulpit and preach, or to go out and lay hands on people, or should have got a Honda, right? Everybody's not called to do that, right? Some people are called to be mental health pros. Some people are called to doctor, to dentist, to be mental health pros, or to be financial investors, like whatever that is. Everybody has a different call on their life, and what we have to do is realize is that all those things were instituted by God, right, high level, and poured down, and we get these skills and these talents, and we have to operate and use them, not just in the ministry but in the marketplace, and not just in the marketplace but also in the ministry. That's why so many people feel like they don't have a place because of what they've been classified as. But today I want to help you redefine what you believe about church. I want to help you redefine what you believe about the stigma associated with getting help, because your mind matters, right? And this stigma has to shift. It has to be stepped on, and I hope that you guys are getting this information from Davinna, and you are writing it down, or you're going back and watching the replay. So we said some of the missing pieces were, number one, lack of knowledge, right? Number two, it was a lack of resources. Number three, lack of empathy, right? I read that out of a survey that was taken way back in 2013 after the Newtown massacre, y'all remember when all those school kids were killed by a mentally ill young man? I read that 46% people believe that people with mental illness are by far dangerous, right? 67% were willing to have a person with a serious mental illness as a neighbor. They were unwilling. 67% said if somebody has a mental illness, I don't want them near me. 71% were unwilling to have a person with a serious mental illness start working closely with them on a job. This is what I want to ask you. Look, if you are unwilling to believe the facts, to be a neighbor, to be a coworker, how will those that are affected be assisted? I'm gonna wait.
See, but all of the things that you said are myths. All of them are myths.
Right.
Because what you have to understand is that the fact is that people can recover from mental health.
They can.
Whether it's meds or whether it's people talking to them, therapy is not a waste of time.
That's why I said if you can't be a neighbor, you can't be a coworker, you can't, push past the stigma. How will people get the help they need? Look, some people in your life aren't going to go sit down with a therapist like Davinna. And look, I don't even sit down with her because she is strict. And I can't handle her chill. Listen, I can't handle her chill, right? I need something different, right? But if you can't be a neighbor or a coworker or a friend, some people may not get the assistance that they need because it's tied to them being able to come to you and just have a conversation. Listen to what I just said. Have a conversation to release what they're going through. How many of us, look, and I'm trying to give y'all some simplified practical tools and examples. How many of us have been faced with a difficult situation? Your boo left you. You felt like you were going to die, right? Anybody using the side of your house or in your house crying because you felt like you were going to lose it because your relationship ended or somebody did something to you in your life, but there was a loss and you didn't know how to go through the grieving process, and you begin to call people that you weren't really connected to just because you wanted to speak to somebody and share what was on your heart. Who's been there? I know I have, right? We go and we speak to people that we know we wouldn't otherwise share our business with because we need to be able to release the pain somewhere. And the pain doesn't have to be released in the therapist, but if you do need one, you can. And I'm going to talk to you guys about how you identify that. And Davinna's going to, to confirm it because she's an expert here, but also just making sure that you are available, making sure that you are available to listen. And I mean, active listening, right? Davinna, not just making it about you, but look, giving eye contact and keeping silent. Don't listen to somebody's troubles and say, oh, I remember when I went through. Don't do that. Just listen. Like, don't make it about you. It's about them at that moment, but being able to listen and have that conversation. So based on those stats, 67% unwilling to have a person with mental health issues as a neighbor, 70+% unwilling to have somebody with a mental health issue as a coworker. And we don't want to be a neighbor or a coworker. What do we want to be?
I gotta, man. So first off, that's a myth. The facts is that people with mental health problems are sometimes more productive than their counterparts because they're working extra hard so that people don't understand what's going on in their world or in their personal life. So that's actually a myth. And if they have mental health problems, they can receive effective treatment, and you don't even know they're receiving treatment from their job, but they have no problems with attendance. They are there every day. They have more punctuality and they're more motivated and do good work. So that's one. Two, let's talk about not having them as neighbors, because only 3 to 5% of people with mental health illnesses are violent. Okay?
Yep.
The truth of the matter is that people with severe mental illnesses are over 10 times more likely to be victims of violent crime. Yes, we have the media that exposes what's going on, but that's on such a low level. But because they want to fetishize about what's going on with mental health and all of that stuff, it's making it look like there's this big explosion of it when it's not. That's only a 3 to 5% of the people who have severe mental illness that react violently.
Wow. Listen, but the stigma will have you thinking that people are not able to be trusted, they're not productive. This is the stigma. And so when we push past the stigma, what we realize is that there's some people that we sit next to and we talk to that may be going through some mental health issues, and they're more productive than some of us on this Facebook, on this live right now. They show up earlier than me, they're more productive than me, they probably got more cash than me. Listen to what I'm saying. But we have this stigma that somebody with a mental health issue has a look. Listen to what I'm saying, that they have a look. And so it's the look that limits us. And the look is based on the tragedies that are amplified in the media because of sensationalism. And when we see that, we say, you know what? They're wearing dark clothes. Their makeup is dark. They must have mental health issues. There's something wrong with them. But that's not what mental health is. Mental health issues, or somebody that's seeking mental health could be PKO, who just needs to sit down because she's overwhelmed with work and the thing she does that's highly stressful. Mental health is one of my mentors, is an IO psychologist, and she works with individuals that are working at nuclear power plants. You have to go through her and continue to speak to her while you work there because of the high stress of the job. So I want you guys to understand what's happening now. We're shifting. The stigma is shifting. We're moving over. The stigma is shifting. Now you guys are getting a glimpse of what mental health looks like. And it looks like you and I.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It looks like us. It looks like us. It looks like people that we know, people that we're friends with, right? We have to be a neighbor and a coworker because we want to be a voice that somebody can actually come and speak to. Look, we're almost done here, and we have some tools for you. But look, guys, look, Davinna is here, right? And, you know, I just wanted to plug her in because I know that she's not going to do this. She's not going to do this. So Davinna is an expert. You guys have heard her for the last 2 weeks. She knows her stuff, you know. I want you to understand like what she is offering. And there's some of us who won't go and sit down and talk to somebody unless they look like us. Somebody, because we believe they can relate. And so Davinna talks about, she's going to give us some tools on what to ask a coach or a counselor or a therapist if you're looking for one. But look, if you are looking for one, I want to be the plug and plug her in. She's going to be offering a 30-minute consultation coaching session. Y'all know y'all got to pay for that because she's giving us a deal right now, right? I think $49.99 for a session. And she's just going to have a 30-minute session with you and give you not an analysis, but feedback on what she needs. Whether she wants to refer, recommend, or create a plan where you work directly with her. And so if you're interested in that, I want you to say me in the comment area. And if you don't want to say me, you can inbox me, but I'm going to put up some information so you can connect to her. So Davinna, if I'm looking for a therapist, a counselor, a coach, what are some of the questions I should ask them?
So the one thing I could say about people that are in the community or people of color is that they want someone who's culturally responsive to their mental health treatment. And that could mean, a part of the culture, the person's beliefs, the norms, the values, the language that's utilized within the communities. It means you want someone who recognizes the trauma that you endured without judging you about the trauma you've endured, or someone who might have experienced the same things as you. So what people don't understand is like when you have a mental health provider, you're paying them. So it's up to you to ask the questions that you need to ask in order to get the treatment that you need and that you want. So some of those questions is you have to decide if you want to work the way that they have to decide if they want to work the way you want to work. You have to bring awareness to the use of maybe the language that they're using with you that's just stigmatizing to you. You have to educate, like, your family and friends, you have to talk to them. Hold on, let me just go through something. Sorry, guys, give me 1 second.
No, take your time. We want all those facts.
Okay, sorry. So you have to ask this provider, you have to ask them about their treatment approach. You have to ask them what's the plan for you after they've spoken to you and you've gotten to know each other a little bit. You have to ask if they provide specific care, including one's culture, because we don't all come from the same cultures. It's things that, you know, might be offensive to us. Like there's some people who you can't look directly in their eyes because they might be women and that's a part of their culture from different countries. It's about knowing if they can learn your beliefs and your culture so that you're comfortable enough to be there and to open up to them. You have to seek attention from someone who is aware and affirming of your interesting and your identity, like you, like whether that's race, whether that's class, whether that's gender, or any of those that overlap with each other, or whether it's about interdependent systems of discrimination or disadvantage. It's a part of your cultural background. How can you open up to someone who you don't trust? And that's a part of it. You have to seek someone who you trust. You have to be mindful that some providers don't use the methods that you might need or are necessary for your own growth. They might not use the framework for your cultural treatment. So you have to ensure that your provider is culturally responsive and respectful of your needs before you even start that process, or before you know they try to infuse their own beliefs into your treatment. Like you're the one who's paying for it again. So you have to make sure you ask these questions from jump, because they play an essential role in your treatment, and it's only a vital, and it's only going to work if you communicate with each other. And it's important to know how they feel about social justice around your community, around your cultural community, and around mental health disparities. Like these are things that should be discussed and addressed prior to you diving into a treatment plan or anything, because if they don't understand your long history or social change, or they don't understand, you know, those transmitted stressors that are from generations ago that we still have embedded in us, then they can't help you. And that's just the truth. They can't help you. So.
That was powerful. I just put up a quote. She said, don't let them infuse their beliefs into your treatment plan. Ah, man, listen. How many of you have had somebody tell you who you are or who you're supposed to be, right? And so what she's saying is, look, guys, you know, when you go look for someone, don't let them tell you, you know, what you should have. Make sure that they understand who you are and what you want. So Tawana said, me, you got your first consult. It's coming, right? She said, and so, yeah, and so that's powerful. And so, guys, listen, you know, that part was really important to me to share. And so Davinna is going to be offering 30-minute consultations, I believe, for $49.99. She's going to provide you guys with feedback on what you need, whether it's a counselor, a coach, you know, or if you need her, right? She's going to let you know. And look, she's not going to say that you need her because, look, she's she's not about that life, and she's booked and busy. But I'm asking her to do this because, look, where I live, we have a limit of people that look like us in this space. Come on, somebody. And so I want to be able to make sure that what she has in her is activated. And y'all remember, this is my little sister, but she's my little big sister. Even situations that I faced in my life, she was someone that was able to walk me off a wall, because y'all know PKO walked on walls, on buildings, and on side tracks. And so I want to encourage you guys in this. And so look, let's wrap this up. What do we need now? How do we make this better? We need a cultural shift. A cultural shift is needed to foster a climate where friends, where family, both immediate and in the church, right, can seek non-judgmental support for mental health, you know, conditions. This could make a difference, right, in helping others feel empowered to get the help they need. So how can you shift, right? Your friends, your family, them jokers in the church too, you know, you want to seek some non-judgmental support, right? How does that happen? Look, I want somebody to write this down for me because I need your help to post these comments. Number one, identify your issues. Identify your issues. Identify your issues. Somebody write this down for me. Identify your issues. So what does that mean? Everyone has triggers. If there are shots fired in your life, how long before you bleed out from the wounds you keep looking away from? Wow.
That's powerful. That's powerful. But it's also like, you know, we have this mentality that we don't want to give people the ammunition to shoot at us. you know, and that's a part of why we're silent.
I mean, yeah, and it's true. So I know we have to first be able to, before we can share with anybody, we have to be able to identify what's going on in us, right? We have to be able to identify those issues. That's right. We have triggers. We have things that kick up our mess, right? Come on, somebody. Every now and then, somebody from your past will come back in and it'll remind you of that mindset that you was in from back then. Or every now and then, somebody will say something or do something to you that stirs up that part of you that you tried to keep secret, that I wish you would moment, right? And so identify what triggers you, what makes me down. So look, when I work with people, I give everyone assessment, right? And in the assessment, it shows me your empathy and your factual judgment, right? It also shows me your head case, your heart case, and your briefcase, you know, and this is for HR. And what I realize is that it shows me how you like to be acknowledged or rewards. I went a step closer and looked at the way I communicated. And what it told me is that if I wasn't extremely conservative in certain environments, people would not think that I was intelligent because I was an extreme extrovert. But it also told me that if I wasn't a part of the overall conversation, that I would become discouraged. And my social engagement would pull back. And so now when I get in situations like that, I'm able to identify the signs. I know what triggers me. I know that if I'm excluded from a conversation, I might be in my feelings, but the conversation is none of my business, right? And so I learned to identify my triggers. Number 2, right? What else? Define those defining moments. These are experiences that remind you of the edge you edged up to. You know, the church calls them familiar spirits. Look at the way I wrote that in. Define those defining moments, right? What are those familiar spirits? You know, so look, I battled fear for a long time. Davinna told you we stutter, not just when we get excited, but I stutter because I used to be afraid of things. And I had been delivered, I thought, and I had walked away. And one day I was in a party in Landfall, since I've been to Wilmington, and everybody was in the party. They were drinking and smoking, and the guy was like, try this cigar. I was like, hand it over. So he gave me the cigar, and I hid behind the house because I didn't want the people to see the girl that did events and the girl that evangelized sometimes smoking a cigar. So I hid on the side of the building, and I was smoking, and I heard a noise, and I jumped, and immediately my body went into a state of panic. I began to shake. My heart began to beat fast because when you are fearful, it activates your 5 senses as well. And what happened is where I thought I was delivered, I allowed the familiar spirit to come back in, or a situation to stir it up. That was a defining moment because I had to fight all over again to get away from the fear that I thought that I had overcome, that I really hadn't really faced.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Amen. That was powerful. Had to get over the fear that I hadn't really faced.
Yeah, I hadn't faced it, right? It was just like, oh, and I still battle with it. And that's how I know, watch this, that we need prayer. We need praise. I definitely need my pastor, but I need some practical tools too. Because every now and then I get in a situation and I start feeling, because I'm a African-American woman, you know, in the world that we live in today, that I can't be great, that I have to act inferior when I'm surrounded by Caucasian counterparts because they don't view me the same way. And I'm talking right now out loud, right? I can walk in a room and all they see is my color, but they don't see my intelligence because they judged it based on the color of my skin, but not on my experiences or my education and what I learned in them streets, right? Because I got the triple compound anointing, right? And so we find ourselves in situations and I become afraid and expressing myself because of my experiences that I faced previously. That's why I have practical tools in place to keep going. Number 3.
Before you get to number 2, I just want to highlight something. I want to, you know, every time in our communities, people of color, when somebody asks you about yourself, you would immediately go to your profession, and that's because of the way that you're viewed. That's because of the inferior complex that is housed in our intergenerational trauma. Because it makes us feel as if we're not good enough, no matter how much we've achieved in this world. So that's all I wanted to say.
Wow. So powerful, Davinna, so powerful. Next, share your struggle in a safe space. talk about identifying your safe space. Like what is your safe space? Who are your people? So I have this thing that I did, this class I did a month or so ago, and it was called Redesigning the Blueprint. It was your blueprint. And we talked about the classification of people, of friends. And I also talked about it up here. Look at who's in your circle. These are people that surround you, right? That you're cool with, that you can hang out with, right? Look at people who are in your corner. They're not necessarily always present, right? But you know, if you need them, they're there. Look at people that are in your cloud. These are people that will pray for you and push you and encourage you. And if you're looking for people in your crew, then they fit all three, right? And so what are your safe spaces? You know, what is your safe space? Who is your safe space? Because your safe space may not be a place. It may be a who. Who can you go to? Who can you trust? Who can you have a conversation with? You know, it may not be somebody in your family that's a safe space, because them jokers tell more about you than the people in the street do, right? And so who is your safe space, right? Who is your, share your struggles in the safe space. You have to identify your safe space. And then the next one, look, and my final one, don't limit your conversation to the pews. We also need process systems and practical tools. Don't limit your conversation to the pews. We also need process systems and practical tools. How many of you know somebody in the pews that have been struggling for years with the same issue they haven't overcome? That's because they got prayer, they got the praise, they sat on the pews. Now they need process and practical tools to help them in a sustainability cycle. Like Davinna said, start stuttering. And so, I'm telling you, like, this is what they need. I'm so sick of seeing people that are stuck because they've been confined and bound by the stigma in the system. And we have to help them break free out of that. We have to help them shift from the stigma. We have to help them implement process systems and practical tools. And so, yeah. So if you are a ministry, if you are a part of a church and you're watching, listen, I want to encourage you to make mental health matter and your mandate to build the kingdom.
Absolutely.
I give you examples of mental issues in the Bible, and I can send that link out for you to look at it some more. But there's some people that are bleeding all over everything that they touch, because we keep trying to stop it with prayer. We keep trying to stop it with praise, but we won't help them try to stop it with process and a practical tool.
And I have a quote that goes right along with that, because it stood out to me, and it was so real for me, and it's from this girl named Cynthia, and she said, mental illness in the Black community has long been a touchy subject. The overriding belief is that you don't go to therapy, you don't go to counseling, and you don't take medicine. You go to church and you don't talk about your business to anybody. You put on your big girl pants and keep it moving. That's what I did, except I wasn't going anywhere.
Wow. I wasn't going anywhere. And look, today we're here to take you somewhere. So how do we shift? Right? And so we just gave you a bunch of tools, and we just gave you 4 ways that you can shift. You can shift right now by identifying your issues, defining those defining moments. If you real churchy, you call them for familiar spirits. Number 3, sharing your struggle in a safe space. And then number 4, not limiting your conversation to the pews, remembering that you need process systems and practical tools. Again, so Davinna is offering 30-minute consultation. I saw one person say me. If you're still here, Tawana, I want you to inbox me. I could connect you to Davinna.
You could just text me, Kalila. She's one of my coworkers.
Okay, so text Davinna directly, and she'll hook you up in that 30-minute session. But if any of you want to have a conversation with Davinna, she is available for a limited time only. She'll be with us here for the rest of the month, talking about Mind Matters, right? We talked about the church and the Black community today and some of the stigmas. Next week, we're going to talk about mental health and COVID-19. I might bring my mama back on, because y'all remember when she came on and talked about what it looked like for a senior to be confined, during COVID. It's hard, right? I mean, some of our children even, and I want you to, if you have kids, to invite your kids, because I think I'm actually going to bring my 13-year-old on. Like, she's become used to staying inside. And so when I asked if they want to go somewhere, she's like, no, we'll just stay here. They become used to the environment that they're in, right? And so I want to invite you to do that. But look, on our way out, I want to ask Davinna to take us through a breathing exercise. Would you? And so we have a link for you too. I'm going to post it here. It's a Google Doc link, and it has a breathing tool that you can actually use. It's one of the techniques that'll help you with just meditating, finding your place of peace. And I need that often. It could be it's something as simple as just like breathing in and breathing out. If you guys came to one of my Bloom conferences, you remember my mentor did that 3-2-1 go. She talked about the part of your brain up in here that functions, and she used the matrix as part of that conversation. So if we could just breathe in and breathe out before we jump off, and I'll give you guys some final words, that would be great. Y'all ready for this? Who's ready to breathe? Come on.
All right, guys. You can close your eyes if it makes you feel better, and it actually helps with hearing your breathing and relaxing you a little bit more. So what I want you guys to do is close your eyes and then begin to breathe in and hold that for 3 seconds before you breathe out. So do it again. And as you do that, you want to start to release any emotions that you're feeling currently and only focus on the breathing itself. Not what's going on in your life, not how stressful you are, just the constant breathing in, holding it for 3 seconds, and breathing out. I want you to concentrate on how you hear your breathing as you breathe in and out. I want you to breathe in, and when you release it, exhale so loudly that it releases the pressure that you've put yourself under, and continue to breathe. Maybe one more time. And after you finish breathing, just do a little shake like you're doing a Harlem Shake and just let it all out. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. And I use that kind of breathing technique when I'm overwhelmed or when I'm getting crazy or I know I'm about to go off on somebody. I have to concentrate on my breathing and not what's making me mad so that I recenter myself so that I don't make a fool of myself or something.
Thank you so much, Davinna. That was powerful. I appreciate it. So, guys, look, let's wrap up. Shifting stigmas, like changing what you thought about mental health and looking at it differently. If you're still watching and you watch from the beginning, or if you're catching the replay, tell me if the stigma of what you believe has been shifted. You realize that somebody that may be experiencing mental health issues or need mental health looks like you. They're normal people. These are everyday people who just may have gone through some situations and circumstances in their life where they need somebody to talk to, where they need a process and some practical tools that a professional has to assist them with. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Carlette. Thank you, Mommy. So look, I posted a link up, guys, and that link is going to help you with breathing. So you can, it's a Google Doc. I already made it so that anyone with the link can look at it. And so you can take that. It's similar to what Davinna just did with you. Do it at your desk. Do it when you're at home. Do it when your kids is driving you crazy. Do it when your boo is acting funny. Do it when your money is crazy. I want you guys to do it. And I want to end with something like this. Look, I want you to, Demi Lovato said, you don't have to struggle in silence. She said you can be unsilent. You can live well, with whatever you're facing, as long as you open up to somebody about it. Right? Don't be silent. Don't be silent now. There's some things that requires you to open your mouth. Conversations connect people, but conversations also help cultivate what you've been keeping.
And you always have to remember, guys, that mental illness does not discriminate. It does not discriminate based on your race, your age, your color, nothing, your religion, nothing. We all need to seek the help that we really need for the sanctity of ourselves and our families.
Wow. That was powerful. Mental health does not discriminate by race, by color, by socioeconomic status. The resources available where you live may differ, but they are reachable. If you decide to come out from where you are to get what you need, either in your safe space or with a professional like Davinna. Was this good today? So I want to thank Davinna, of course, for being on again and for sharing with us. If you are interested in having a 30-minute conversation with her, I want you to let me know. You can say me, you can inbox, and I'll give you her information as well. We want to make sure that I connect you with her, so that you know, Davinna and I are working on a masterclass. I believe the name is going to be Thought Leader, right? And it's not what you believe, right? It's how you shift what you think about yourself to fully walk in who you are. She's coming with the cognitive and behavioral things, and I'm coming with the purpose and the passion and the power. Listen to what I'm saying. It's going to be powerful, right? And so we don't have a flyer for it yet, but it is called Thought Leader. And we thought that was a fitting name. You know, we think a thought leader is somebody who's a master in a specific area. They use their expertise to share. And I need you to be able to use your expertise about what you believe about you. Who could speak about you better than yourself, right? And so I'm so excited about that. I'm also going to throw up I believe we have, I'm also going to throw up this flyer really fast for the formula for fortitude. We originally scheduled it for this weekend, but guys, I needed to rest. And I just rescheduled it. And so it's going to take place next week at 12 noon. Let me make sure that's right. It's going to take place next week. And if you're interested, I'm going to put a link in the comment area so that you can register to attend. It's how to get the best out of the test. You know, so many of us have gone through situations and it leaves us stuck. You know, I told you all that I spent almost 5 years behind the wall, and I could have came home and stayed stuck, but I used my situation to help me soar and not to stop me. And I believe that, you know, the same thing can happen to you. We're going to do a destiny diagram to help you identify dream killers and cancel doubts. We're going to do a fight plan. I'm going to teach you how to fight in areas where you've been attacked and where you've been attacked and how you've been attacked. And then we're going to talk about the number 4, right? And I believe that number 4 in the revelation that I'm going to share with you is going to help you cancel out naysayers and negativity that you heard for so long in your life. It's time for you to take what you experience and use it for your good. It's time for you to get the best out of your test. And so if you are interested in joining me on that, I will put the link in the comment area. Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you. So Teresa said the email said 2. You are right, and it's at 2 o'clock. I got people doing stuff for me, y'all, right? At 2 o'clock. And so look, this was wonderful. Before Davinna goes, do you have any questions for her? And I want y'all to ask us some questions. Come on and ask us some questions. Ask her some questions. Who has the questions? I know somebody does.
All right, let me put my glasses back on because you know I can't see good.
You have a question about your situation, about a situation that you've seen, about tapping into a resource, you know, she will answer your questions.
And also, if you do want information on mental health for our communities or people who might look like us that provide mental health within your own area, you can also reach out to Kalila, who will share my information, so we could have like a consultation, or we can develop, you know, all the resources you have around you that you may need.
Awesome. Okay, I don't see any questions. No questions, guys. Well, awesome. No questions. You got what you need. So don't forget, guys, we have coping breathing skill that's available on the link in the comment area. I just also posted the link for registration for the formula for fortitude. The link for Thought Leader will go up on Monday. If you guys are interested, just click the link and register. It'll have all the information on what that masterclass will look like with Davinna. We may bring some additional friends along to assist us in making sure that you are ready to talk about you, right? And finally, guys, look, nothing changes unless it changes in you, right? It happens in you first. Today, you heard about a 10-year-old who was diagnosed with depression. You heard me share about a young lady in our area who was killed, right? And things like that in communities all over the United States become normalized because of where you grow up and where you're from. We learned that a stigma is a deceptive discredit, right? It'll make you believe, make believe. But we also learned that a stigma, right? It doesn't have to restrict you, that there's resources that are in your reach and resources that can be recommended. Don't let what you thought you believed stifle your scope and where you need to go. There's an opportunity for you to not just share, but for you to soar, for you to be a safe space for someone else. I'm so thankful that you guys have joined us here today. So thankful that you guys decided to be a part of Coffee and Community Conversation this morning. I'm thankful for Davinna and her brilliance and her brains. Thankful to Big B Coffee for my cup, right? And for that dark roast, right? That's inside of it. My name is PKO. I appreciate you guys. And if we don't have any more questions, then I want you to have an amazing day. And so today's community conversation was just not about how you transition, into phase 2 for COVID-19, but understanding that whether it's good or bad, whether you say yes or no, whether you go or you stay still, it causes a ripple effect in your life.